All right, greetings everybody, and welcome to week number one. That is right, week number one of your 9489 class, which is your cultural heritage class. As always, I'm your professor, Dr. J.S.K. Austin, and what I want to do today is I am recording what I call a check-in video. For those of you who have not had me before, every week that we do, well, nearly every week that we do not have a sync session in one of my classes, and you have 3 sync sessions in each of my classes. So in the weeks that we don't have a sync session, what I do is I record these optional check-in videos. I get them up by Wednesday morning. Usually I either record them on Monday or Tuesday, so I get them up by Wednesday morning. And what these check-in videos are is they are optional, but what they do is they provide context to the class, and they can sometimes be a little helpful for navigating the class and everything like that. Basically, research shows that you have 2 types of students, and those 2 types of students are, you do have the students who just want to get the degree. So they want to get in the class, complete the class, get the degree. They don't care about, get in the class, pass the class, get the degree and all those things. They don't care about, all the little extra knowledge. They don't care about the little tips and tricks. They don't care about hearing about the expertise of the professor who has been in the field for a while. They really just want the grade. That's one type of student. And then there's the type of student who actually does want to have some sort of connection to the class. They want the professor to share little tidbits. They want the professor to show a bit of a human side. They want the professor to basically welcome them into the class and make the class kind of a community environment, so to speak. And so if you are that second person, then this is the check-in videos are for you. Again, they are optional, but I will upload them in the announcements every week that we don't have a sync session. The reason I don't do them when we have a sync session is because you've already got, in the case of a sync session, you're already spending that time with me, and you don't want too much Dr. J's, okay? So that's why we don't do it on the sync session dates, and we'll talk about the sync sessions in a little bit, as this check-in video will be a course overview. Give me one moment. No, I upload the check-in videos to YouTube because, for 2 reasons. A, YouTube gives me the ability to have automatically created captions, and that's something that I use to my advantage. You do want to think about accessibility, especially when you're in this field. You want to make sure that things are accessible as possible, even to people who have disabilities. And so for those who may be hard of hearing or be hearing impaired or something like that, uploading these to YouTube is just the quickest way for me to have automatically generated captions. But then the other reason why I upload these to YouTube is so that you can speed them up. And so I'm going to put the directions in the announcement as well, but I'm also going to show you how to speed up a YouTube video. And from here on, whenever you I know I speak slowly, okay? I'm from the rural South, and we rural Southerners, we speak slowly. We say what we mean, but we say it in a very slow pace. So I know you're going to want to speed me up when you watch these check-in videos, because I do speak so slowly. So I'm going to show you how to speed up a video right now and what we're going to do. So here's a video that we have.
Grow your business with subscriptions on Shopify and be like Better Booch.
We launched subscriptions in about December of 20.
So this is a video that's sort of like the regular pace. And if you want to speed a video up, which I assure you, I talk slowly, so you're going to want to speed me up. So to speed me up, what you do is you go to settings, and then you can go to playback speed, and then usually if you speed me up to 1.5, you can still understand everything I say. And as you can see, the song has sped up. All right. So that's how you speed up a YouTube video. And so now that I've taught you how to speed up a YouTube video, now we are going to go in and actually do this course overview. So again, this check-in video is going to be a course overview. The check-in videos are going to be just different topics that are they're on topic to the topic of the class, but not necessarily on topic to what's going on this particular week in a class. It's just stuff that I think is interesting, supplemental things that I think will be helpful to share with you in any given week. And usually there's also a state of the course update. So when I say state of the course update, kind of like the state of the union, I just tell you different things that are going well, that could be improving, and those sorts of things, what's on the horizon, those sorts of things, to give you an update on how the class is going. Okay. So yes, with that said, let's go ahead and get into overview of the course. This one is going to be the longest check-in video. This one is probably going to be over an hour long because I'm doing an overview of the whole course. But by the time you watch this one, if you choose to watch it, hopefully you will have a better context of what's going to be expected of you in the course, what we're doing in the course, and yeah, hopefully you will be more comfortable with the course content after we finish this check-in video. Pause. All right, so yeah, let's go ahead and get into that this course overview now. So first of all, actually, yeah, okay, I'm just gonna do that. So let's go ahead and jump into the syllabus. So welcome again, like I said, welcome to 9489, which is your cultural heritage class. This is a class that I actually created myself. This is I've revamped some of the classes here at CISLD. I revamped the 7314 class, which is the reference class, and I did a complete revamp of intellectual freedom, which is 9407. But those classes did exist before I got here, and I just revamped them. But this class in particular is the class that I totally just built from scratch. There is no other cultural heritage class quite like this at the master's level of any LIS program in the country. So, and the reason why I'm qualified to teach this is because my PhD program in library science from the University of South Carolina actually was focused on cultural heritage informatics. So I had to do a lot of coursework related to cultural heritage, and I had to kind of implement cultural heritage into some of the writing that I was doing and research that I was doing. And so that did make me qualified to create a course. And so this course is kind of a, it contains a lot of what I learned at the University of South Carolina, but then also I've incorporated a lot of my own aspects related to research and things that I've done, okay? So having said that, yes, oh, and we are already seeing little errors. Hold on for a second. Okay, so first things first, and it's spring 2025. If you noticed it just a few minutes ago, it says spring 2024. I just corrected that. The synchronous meeting dates, and actually let's go back to the announcement. So we will have our synced sessions on February 12th, March the 12th, and April the 16th. Again, that's February 12th, March 12th, and April 16th. And I am going to go back in here in the announcements and say who our guest speakers are going to be and what they're going to be talking about. And the reason why, again, that we have guest speakers is because it helps to not just hear from me. You should hear from people who are working in the field, and then you should be hearing from people who are doing this type of work in other ways. And that just enhances the course. You get some expertise from people outside of myself. You get expertise from people who are actually doing it and not just teaching it, okay? And another reason why I do sync sessions in all of my courses is because I want you all to network. You actually should be networking with each other, and you should be networking at the student level. Do not wait until you have graduated and are a professional to start networking. Network now and network with your classmates. And so, yes, the discussion boards and everything, that does give you an opportunity to network with your classmates. But I also want to say that when I bring you all into the sync sessions, you're allowed to speak to each other via chat as the speaker is speaking, interact with the speaker, interact with each other, those sorts of things. And I want you all to do that because I want you all to get comfortable with one another. I am hoping that each one of you makes at least one friend in this class by the time the course is over. Please have that be one of your goals, to make at least one friend with a classmate before this class is over, because networking is the name of the game. I am where I am not because I'm handsome, not because I'm smart. I am where I am because I networked. When I had the opportunity to, as a student, go to conferences, I actually spoke to people while I was at conferences, and people noticed that. And people were like, hey, this guy is sociable. He will talk to somebody. He looks like somebody who is going to be a team player. This is somebody I might want to work with. And so that's how the networking aspect goes. Okay. All right. And so now that I've given you all of that, let's talk about who our guest speakers are. We will have 3 guest speakers in these sync sessions, 3 total guest speakers, 1 per sync session. And these are going to be mandatory. They do count as points. Each one of the sync sessions is going to be on a Wednesday from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Central Time, okay? On February 12th, we will have Cassie Clark, and she is the creator of Where the Dogwood Blooms. And she will do a presentation on her work regarding cultural heritage, observance, appreciation, and pride in regards to the state of North Carolina. She does have, she does her stuff based on the state of North Carolina. I do realize this is a Missouri-based class, and for those of you who don't know, and that's why I'm wearing a Carolina Panthers hat, I am from North Carolina. So I was able to connect with Cassie and have her come in and do this presentation for us. But what I do want you all to know is you will be able to take things from this. I know this is a Missouri-based class, and then not everybody here is based in Missouri, but it is a Missouri-based class, a Missouri-based school. Just because she's talking about North Carolina specifically and what she does, that does not mean that you can't borrow ideas from what she does and then incorporate those into, let's say you want to do work in Missouri or a specific place in Missouri. Let's say you're from Hannibal or you're from St. Louis or from Columbia, Jeff City, whatever, and you want to just do something similar to what Cassie does, but for your place. That is perfectly fine, and listening to Cassie will give you some ideas on how to do that and some methods on how to get started, okay? And then you can visit her website if you want to learn more, wheredogwoodblooms.com. On March the 12th, we will have Stuart Hines, and Stuart Hines is the Special Collections Curator at UMKC, and he will be doing a presentation on GLAMA, which is the Gay Lesbian Archives of Mid-America. Stuart Hines was one of the people responsible for getting GLAMA started. He's done a great job, and knowing about the Gay Lesbian Archive of Mid-America and how it started and what they do, those sorts of things, that will help you from a cultural heritage standpoint to just kind of understand that type of work, because you may be tasked or you may want to start a similar initiative somewhere where you end up working, and it doesn't necessarily have to be, again, focused on LGBTQ plus populations. It can be also focused on any sort of population that has a cultural heritage dynamic attached to it, which would be pretty much any population. But not every population has gained somebody or has somebody who will do these observances for them, and so maybe you could be that person for some group someday. So Stuart Hines, he does a great presentation, and then on April the 16th, our final presentation will be Josh Shepard, who is an associate professor with the University of Colorado Boulder, and he will do a presentation on the Library of Congress Sound Archival Project. And the students, this will be, I think, his fourth year actually coming and doing that, and the students actually absolutely love it. When they come in, they're thinking, like, the students come in and they're thinking Sound Archival Project, but then when they really listen to and hear about the challenges for doing sound archives, but how important the sound archive work is, people are just like, oh man, this is fascinating. And so they love Josh's presentation. I'm so glad that he came back this year again. So yes, we have a great slate of guest speakers. I think you all are going to enjoy them a lot. And again, the attendance will be mandatory, but you will not have check-in videos on those weeks. Okay. All right, let's move on to these further syllabus review here. Okay, so again, those sync sessions are February the 12th, March the 12th, and April the 16th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Central Time. I reserve the right to update the syllabus with notice. If I do any updates to the syllabus, I will let you know. Okay. All right, let's scroll on down. So the class description. Cultural heritage has many definitions, but deals largely with the overarching legacy formed among a culture of people through such things as oral tradition and folklore, artifacts, monuments, also documents, architecture, literature, those sorts of things, music as well, arts, the whole 9 yards, religion, and also games and tradition. Those are just some of the aspects of cultural heritage. Cultural heritage is very broad and very encompassing. The Seminar in Cultural Heritage course will introduce you students to cultural heritage concepts and explore, this course will also explore pressing contemporary topics on cultural heritage, such as the importance and value of heritage tourism, why cultural heritage is historically a target for military attacks, and who merits commemoration in the public square. So those will all be things that we are discussing as we go through this course, okay? Information on how to reach me. My name again is Jason Austin, or most people call me Dr. Jace Austin, whatever the case may be. Dr. Austin, you have a wide variety of things you can call me. You can email me at austinj@missouri.edu. You can also send me a Canvas message. I believe that is actually the preferred method of contact. And then also we got office phone number if you need that from me, area code 816-235-1875. And I do have a physical office. I am not located in Columbia. I am located in Kansas City. So if you want to reach me, you can come to the campus of UMKC in Kansas City, Missouri, and my office is in Miller Nichols Library, 122K, office hours by appointment. All right, course overview. There are many things that can fall under the umbrella of cultural heritage. Most people think specifically about museums and archives when they think about cultural heritage. And what this course is going to do is hopefully expand your view of that. So you're not just limiting yourself to thinking that GLAM, which is galleries, libraries, archives, and museums. That's typically what people think of when they think of cultural heritage, but I want you all to kind of broaden your base and think about more things than just those things when you all think cultural heritage, okay? Most people think of, again, okay, so yes, these are important and crucial cultural heritage institutions, but the picture of cultural heritage is much, much broader, which you're going to learn about in this class. Cultural heritage includes a lot of things that people may not readily associate with the term, and this course does aim to change that. All right, now when it comes to student learning outcomes, in case you want to put any of these assignments into your e-portfolio at the end of your time here with Mizzou, you can make the argument that the assignments that you get in here follow one of two SLOs, or student learning outcomes. Student learning outcome number 1, graduates will apply the core principles, ethics, values, and body of knowledge to questions in library and information science according to their area of specialty. And so the assignments that can fit this would be the visit to the heritage site plus reflection paper, one assignment there. And yes, you can apply the core principles of ethics, values, and so forth when you are doing your reflection on your visit to the heritage site. And then SLO 4, graduates will be able to assess community needs, formulate plans to respond to users of information agencies, and instruct users in using informational resources. The 4 cultural heritages paper is going to be the assignment that will fit that particular SLO. Okay. All right. So you do have options for your SLOs through this class, and so you may want to save your assignments here for your e-portfolio. All right, so as you scroll down further, technical resources, technical help, online access. If you are having any difficulty logging into the course or do not see the course listed, please contact Mizzou. I'm sure if you are actually watching this video, though, then you had no problems accessing the course, but if you are having any sort of online learning difficulty, please contact Mizzou's IT help desk at 573-882-5000 or email techsupport@missouri.edu. Library resources and e-reserves. I actually should not have anything on e-reserve in this class, but still, you are going to want to use the a lot of the things that are offered in this class are offered through the library, so you are going to be able to, you're going to need to be able to log into the library, so you need to go to library.missouri.edu in order to get there, and then you'll be able to log in whenever you need to access resources. Specifically, you'll see, and we'll go down and we'll show this, but you'll see that there are a lot of resources and things that you need to read in this class that are kind of like proxy links, and you would have to log in to Missouri's library in order to see them. But you do also have this, this is a page for distance education support services through the library, and so clicking on this, clicking on that right now will do nothing, but clicking on this in general will usually get you some pertinent information. And then we also do have a librarian, Kimberly Muller, who is assigned to CISL, and so she might be the first person that you want to reach out to if you need any assistance with research in this course, okay? And I will put her contact information in an announcement, okay? All right, hold on. Technical help, just like online course access help. If you need help, then you should contact, again, that same number, 573-882-5000. However, you do have, for technical help outside of the online course, the things like with your email and that sort of thing, you can also reach out to the toll-free number, 866-241-5619, or you can use, instead of tech support, if it's the online course issue, if you have issues with like your email and things like that, issues with Mizzou, things of that nature, then you can contact the help desk, which is Campus Do IT. And again, that's helpdesk@missouri.edu. Okay. All right. Online class etiquette. The main thing that I want you all to know out of this is just, and I try to incorporate humor and that sort of thing into the course as well, but please know that not everything is funny and not everything will be not everything will be received as comedy, even if it was meant to be comedy. Just kind of be respectful to your classmates. Try not to attack your classmates. You can attack an idea without attacking a person. Um, Please consider that sarcasm and humor can be misconstrued in online interactions and generated unintended disruptions. And working as a community of learners, we can build a polite and respectful course ambiance. I've never had an issue with this in the cultural heritage class, even though the cultural heritage class deals with culture, which can invite those sorts of things. So I'm encouraged and very optimistic that we're not going to have any issues this time around. Now, I do want to say what goes on in this classroom stays in this classroom. You are not to share anything that your classmates say outside of this classroom. I am a little different because I am the instructor. I am held up to a higher standard. So yes, if I say something that you feel isn't inappropriate and that sort of thing, hopefully you will just tell me. But if you need to go blab into the entire world, hey, this is what my professor said and yada yada, go ahead and do that. That is fine. But as far as your classmates are concerned, if there's something that you take issue with and you don't feel comfortable enough to to address it with your classmate, or for whatever reason you don't want to address it with your classmate, you can contact me. I can be your first line of defense there. And then if I need to bring Title IX in or some other non-discriminatory body on campus in to assist with that, I will. Okay. So that's that. Zoom, we will be using Zoom for our sync sessions. So Zoom is pretty easy to use. I think everybody who is in this program pretty much knows how to use Zoom at this point. If you don't know how to use Zoom, then contact me and I will get you connected with the appropriate people, okay? But yes, in order to participate in our Zoom sessions, you will need to have the Zoom app on your device that you're using. And then also I recommend that you have a headset and a microphone. So the reason I do recommend that you have a headset is because, quite frankly, I do use profanity. I don't try to use it as much as I might in my intellectual freedom class, but I might use profanity. Other guest speakers and even your classmates may use profanity. So you might want to, especially if you got kids around, you may want to have those headphones on so that they can't hear what's being said, because quite frankly, also you are in this class. This class, you paid tuition to be in this class, and just because it's a remote class, you wouldn't necessarily take your child to a in-person class. And it's the same thing here. This class is not necessarily meant for your child. I can't stop you from having your child and your spouse and other onlookers looking on, but that's not really what the class is designed for, okay? So yes, please have headphones, and then also microphones also come in handy if you are wishing to speak, but you don't want to have a bunch of feedback or echo picked up as you're speaking. All right, and yes, you can join Zoom sessions by phone. All right, scrolling down, as far as required reading materials and text, we do not have an assigned textbook in this class. All readings are embedded in the course, so you do not have to buy a textbook for this class, okay? And so the additional reading materials, they're all either available for free over the web, or they are available through the Missouri Library. If you do have any problems accessing, I did check all the links. So as of Friday the 17th, I believe was Friday. Yeah, as of Friday the 17th, all the links were working, but I do have links that go dead during the semester. That just happens every semester. So if that happens, just reach out to me and let me know that I either need to create another link or find a replacement article or that sort of thing, okay? As far as our grading scale, I've never had anybody who tried get less than a B plus in this class. The only person who has failed this class didn't try to pass it at all. Like, they didn't do any of the work. So I've taught this class, I believe, since 2020, maybe 2021. I think 2020. Either way, I've taught this class since 2020, and almost everybody has gotten an A. A few people got a B plus. One person who didn't do anything got an F. So as long as you get at least 91 points, you will get an A. 81 to 90, B. 71 through 80 is a C. This class is not hard. So if you don't get an A, it's probably due to a lack of effort, okay? But I think that as long as you try, you are probably going to get an A in this course. D is not rewarded to graduate students. Now, I do reserve the right to offer pluses and minuses based on exceptional effort or exceptional lack of effort. So what I mean by that is if you got the A and you got like a 99 or a 100, but you really, really also just kicked butt in this class, then you will probably get bumped to an A plus if you just like did outstanding work and I was just like blown away by what you were doing. However, on the flip side of that coin, if you get an A, but I can tell that you just mailed it in, like you did enough to get your participation points for doing the discussion boards, but your discussion board prompts were really lazy. Things like, yeah, I agree with what everybody said or something like that, that just doesn't show any thought. Then even if you mail it in and you still manage to get that 91 or that 92 through mailing it in, I'm still probably going to give you an A minus as opposed to an A. All right. And then also I do want you all to be aware that the sync sessions, missing sync sessions, even if you get extra credit, because you can get extra credit by being more active on the discussion prompts. But if you miss a sync session, I do want it to be clear that that will disqualify you from getting the bump up. So for instance, if you would have gotten an A plus, but then you missed the sync session, even if you got the extra credit, you're still just getting A. And similarly, if you would have had like an A minus, but then, well, let's say you had an A, you would have gotten an A, but not an A plus, but then you missed the sync session, you might go down to an A minus from that. So basically what I'm saying is don't miss the sync sessions. I don't want you all to try to use extra credit to balance out not going to the sync sessions. I will make sure that if you don't attend a sync session, you will not get the A plus that you possibly could have had otherwise, no matter how much extra credit you do. Okay. So just keep that in mind. The sync sessions are for you guys. So I do want you all to just be aware that those are something that enhance the learning experience. So don't miss those. Those are actually the students who come to those, which the broad majority of the students do. They say that, hey, the sync sessions, the guest speakers, that was the best part of the class, because they don't want to listen to me every week. So yeah, they get that break and they get to listen to somebody else and they get enlightened by what those other people say. All right. Okay. Late work, I am not a stickler for this, so this is in here basically as a CYA, cover my behind sort of thing, but I'm human. So what this does say with the late work is late work will be automatically lowered by 25%. Assignments more than 3 days late will not be accepted unless prior arrangements have been made. And please contact me at least 3 days in advance of the due date. That is there to protect me because I can enforce those rules now that they are in the syllabus. However, I am human and I know that life comes up and I know that things happen. So what I do want you all to know is, yes, if you need or want to be late, I can work with you. You know what I'm saying? I can work with you. So if you decide, hey, if you email me even the day that the assignment is due, if you say, hey, Dr. Jace, first of all, if an immediate family member dies, then you have bereavement. You're entitled to bereavement anyway due to university policy. Please don't ask me to cite the policy. I don't know. But there is a university policy that entitles you to bereavement time and accommodations if a immediate family member, parent, child, or sibling dies. Outside of that, though, again, I'm human. I know stuff happens. If you contact me and you're like, hey, Dr. Jace, my cousin died, my best friend died, my dog died, my cat died, my significant other broke up with me today, I just can't do it, I'm too sad, I had a panic attack today, something like that. I caught COVID. I had a fever. Can I have 2 extra days? Just talk to me. I have an open message policy, open door policy, open door policy. I will work with you when things happen. If you say, hey, I got in a car accident last night. Hey, I got arrested. I've had that happen, not here at Mizzou, but at a previous stop. I had a student who got arrested and they spent a couple days in jail and needed, an extension because of that, and that's fine. I granted that. And then it doesn't even have to be negative stuff. If you say, hey, Dr. Jace, don't get me wrong. I don't want you to plan your vacations specifically when things are due so that you can get extra time. Please don't do that. But if you come to me and you're just like, hey, Dr. Jace, we, back in November, we scheduled this vacation on, this is going to take place in March. And so, we're still going to be out of town on the due date of this assignment. Just let me know. We will work. Okay. Let me know. If you're getting married on Saturday, I will not expect you to have, I will expect you to enjoy your wedding weekend. So you can say, hey, Dr. Jace, I'm getting married this Saturday. So maybe this coming Sunday, if I could have an extra day or so to do the discussion board prompt, just let me know. I am human. I get it. And we will work with, well, I will work with you. We will work together. Okay. So that's that for late work. As far as assignments, and we will go into an assignment breakdown a bit later, but as far as assignments, yes, so you've got a syllabus quiz that is actually going to be due this coming Sunday, January the 26th. That's going to be worth 1 point, and those questions should be pretty easy. A midterm quiz will be due on April the 6th, and that will be worth 4 points. That will be an open book quiz, and again, it will not be that hard, okay? Attending sync sessions, you will get 4 points for attending the February 12th sync session with Cassie, 3 points for attending your March 12th sync session with Stuart Hines, and on April 16th, 3 points for attending the Josh Shepard presentation. And again, like I said, I will go into and break down these assignments a little more a bit later, but now we're just going through due dates. So mini heritage mini interview with cultural heritage worker, that's going to be due on March the 31st. That's going to be worth 5 points. That's not going to be very difficult at all. The visit to a cultural heritage site, write up in reflection, that's going to be worth 10 points, due on February the 16th. These are most of these dates are going to be Sundays. Top 4 cultural heritage's paper, that's going to be worth 15 points, going to be due on April the 3rd. And then your final paper, and we're going to talk about this a little more in a bit, your final paper or your heritage project. I'm going to give you an opportunity to do a heritage project, and we will talk about that in a bit. Your heritage project or your final paper would be due by May 11th. And then also, as far as discussion board participation, throughout the semester, this is going to be worth it's going to be worth 13 points total. Basically, what you're going to have is you've got 15 graded discussion board prompts. And for those 15 graded discussion board prompts, your original post is going to count as 1 point. Your reply to a classmate is also going to count as 1 point. So each discussion board prompt, you're going to have a opportunity to earn 2 points. Again, 1 point for your original post, and then 1 point for a reply to a classmate. So that's going to be 15 total prompts, 2 points for each prompt. That's 30 points total. And then all of this adds up to 100 points. Assignment submission instructions, you should just submit your assignment in the assignment submission portal. Assignments will not be accepted by email. Please do not email me your assignment. All right, as far as grading criteria for discussion board prompts, again, you're going to need to, I'm not a stickler for this either. Basically, as long, because I don't put grades in until the Monday after the Sunday things are due at the earliest. However, when it comes to discussion board prompts, what students have asked me to do, so I've started doing this, what students have asked me to do is, yes, for the first few weeks, I might be right on top of it. I might get those discussion board prompts graded just, on that Monday or that Tuesday or that very week after they are due. I might get them graded right away. But as time goes on and I get busier in the semester because other things are picking up related to committee work, admissions, e-portfolios, or any of the other things that I have to do for the program, as things pick up, I am going to slow down. So you're not going to see your discussion board prompts graded right the week after they're due every single week. And that'll probably start in late February or early March, because that's when things pick up with all the other responsibilities and duties that I have. Okay, but what you're going to do is you're going to still do your discussion board prompts on time, and I have timestamps so that I see whether or not they're on time. But there are students who have told me, yes, they prefer that if it takes me a while to get to grading their discussion board entries, because they did want they wanted to have that communication with their classmates first, and then the instructor can come in later and just gauge how all of that went. Okay, so again, probably starting between mid-February and early March, things are going to slow down as far as how quickly I get the discussion board prompts graded. But just know that the grades will be coming. But I read them all and try to reply to most of them, if not all of them. Not all of the responses, but I try to reply to almost every original post. So that is time consuming. And so, yes, there's going to be a slowdown at some point in the semester where I'm not getting it done right away. And I will come back and get it done later and then enter your grade later, okay? But having said that, this is what you're, well, first of all, having said that, yes, I do prefer that you have your original post up by Thursday night. In that way, your classmates have something to respond to on Friday or over the weekend. But again, if you don't have it up by Thursday night, that's okay. You just need to have it up by 11:59 p.m. on Sunday night when it's due. You do need to have your post and response both up by then. And still, I will not count off until you have a little bit of a grace period. Let me put it this way. So yes, if it's not up by Monday morning when I wake up, then you're subject to lose points. But I'm not going to be hanging around my computer so that at midnight, if I don't have it at midnight, come 12:01 a.m., I'm like, oh, you lose the points. I'm not going to be doing that, okay? Because I'm going to be probably asleep by that time or hanging out with my wife by that time. All right. So all that to say, yes, your discussion post grading criteria, new and meaningful ideas, that's going to be worth about 50%. Make sure that your messages are coherent and make sure that the replies that you have to your classmates are relevant. Don't just reply with, yeah, sounds good, or yeah, I agree, or something like that. Give them something relevant if you are going to reply to them. Okay, what to expect from a technology enhanced course. This course is designed to meet virtually. It is essential that you access this course Monday through Friday for course announcements, interact with your small discussion groups if you have them, submit assignments, take online quizzes, etc. Reading course announcements is mandatory. This is my way of communicating with you all. Reading course announcements is mandatory. There will be optional content in the course. There will be optional content in the course announcements, but reading the announcements is mandatory. All right. And if you miss something that was in the announcements, I'm not necessarily going to feel sorry for you. I will still try to catch you up and everything. But I've had people who refused to read the announcements and then missed stuff and then were mad at me. And it's like, no, the syllabus says that reading the announcements is mandatory. Do it. All right. What you can expect from the instructor. By enrolling in this course, you have agreed to contribute to weekly discussions by accessing the discussion board regularly, probably 2 to 3 times a week, Monday through Friday, but really it's Monday through Sunday. It is all good. If you don't have time to access it into the weekend, that is perfectly fine. Because again, I don't put grades in until no earlier than the Monday after the Sunday that the discussion board prompt was due. This will require a team effort with respect and help for each other as we build a community of learners. We also expect that you will have foundational understanding of the internet terms and functions, and all general class correspondence should be submitted to a relevant discussion board forum. Only personal and confidential matters should be directed to the instructor by email or by Canvas message. But again, I'm not too picky on that. If you have something that you just don't feel comfortable with your classmates seeing, by all means, just send me a message. And then as far as what you can expect from me as the instructor, I monitor and facilitate class discussions. It says Monday through Friday, but again, really it's Monday through Sunday. I respond to questions within 72 hours. I try to provide timely feedback on written assignments, and I try to help build this community of learning. If you send me a message by email or Canvas message and you have not heard from me within 72 hours, go ahead and message me again. All right. We've already kind of talked about the weekly routine, so let's go ahead and get into the course modules and what you're going to be talking about, what you're going to be discussing throughout the course. And by the way, what's here in the syllabus is also what's in the modules, so these things should duplicate. If you do see discrepancies, and there are bound to be discrepancies and things that I miss, if you see discrepancies, by all means, contact me and let me know. Okay. All right. So first of all, I do want you all to know that this course is kind of what I call front loaded with the heavy stuff. So you may not enjoy the first few weeks. I'll be honest with you. The first few weeks is the foundational knowledge. When I say the first few weeks, I mean the first 5 weeks. Please hang in there. Bear with me in the class. The first 5 weeks, the content will be a little drier because you're laying that foundational knowledge. People really start to enjoy the class once we get to the music module. And then from the music module, which is week 6, I believe, from then on, they're like really enjoying the class. But in order to get the week 6, you do have to have you have 5 weeks of very foundational knowledge that you need to take in. And some of this can be pretty dry, but again, this is what you need in order to Well, it's what you need in order to actually get into the fun stuff. So with me, it's kind of work before play. That's how this class is set up. So this first week is the introduction to cultural heritage concepts. And again, this is going to be, it's going to be a little dry. I'll admit it's going to be a little dry, but you read these things and then you'll, first of all, you will learn a lot. There's a lot of front loaded learning here to where you're like, oh, okay, I really understand cultural heritage foundational knowledge now. I understand it. Just, it only took me a week to understand it because that information was front loaded into the first week. So again, you get your introductory knowledge, and again, everything here should either be accessible via Google or or not necessarily Google, but following these links, but it should be either accessible freely online, or you should be able to log into the library and access it from there. So certain things, including definitions, introduce students to introductory and basic cultural heritage concepts. So you'll learn what is cultural heritage. Actually, the Khan Academy has a really good page on that. Definitions of cultural heritage, values and relationships between tangible and intangible dimensions of heritage places, yada, 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 these various readings here. The subtle power of intangible heritage. Then what you're going to do is, for this particular one, also look at page numbers. Look and see if they're page numbers. In this case, you're not reading all of this, just pages 7 through 13 and then 27 through 34. Those sorts of things. And then you'll see like activities and assessments on each of these as well. You do have, if you see where it says PDF and module, you will have to go to the modules. I'll do that right now. You will have to go to the module in order to access it. So you'll see like this VECO reading here, a definition of cultural heritage. What you would do is, that's right here. And so, yes, you would have to go to the module in order to access that, but that is where you would access it. The reason why, by the way, we don't put the readings, all of the readings in the modules as PDFs is because people don't like that for copyright reasons. There is, the databases do like to have like the hits or the times that things have been accessed, and that way they can keep track of those access metrics and that sort of thing. They're keeping track of everything. You know that they're watching you every time you get online. But having said that, if you are, there are certain things that I lost access to on the main web, and then I contacted the authors, and the authors did grant me the permission to use the piece or use the work. And so when they granted me that permission and gave me the PDF, then I put the PDF in the modules instead. Okay. All right, so week 2 is going to be preservation concerns with cultural heritage. The objective here again, or the objective, introduce students to preservation concerns related to cultural heritage. There are many, but this is introductory, so this is going to be your more basic stuff. And with this and all topics, students are encouraged to engage in some independent study to learn more if they wish. Now, also, I do want to let you know, because a lot of times you're going to see a lot of readings. You've got 7 readings here, but I do want you all to know that some of these readings are not going to be that long. So I know that some of you are going to be like, whoa, look at all these readings. Yes, but then also some of the readings are going to be very short. Like, for instance, with this, with week, got 7 readings here too. Oh, actually 8. Sorry about that. You've got 8 readings with heritage concerns. But as you can see, we're going to click this first one, and this first one is very, very short. I'm going to pause while it loads. Oh, there we go. All right. So you see this, 5 issues threatening the destruction of cultural heritage sites. You do see this, but it's very short. You scroll down: war, tourism, development, ephemeral value of heritage, and aging modernism. And this article is very short, something that you're going to read in 5 minutes, okay? 5 to 10 minutes. All right, so yes, it looks like there are a lot of readings, but trust me, a lot of these readings are very short, so please don't get discouraged when you see all these readings, okay? So you're going to have those. And then also, I do mix in a lot of video content in this class as well, so it's not all just reading and that sort of thing. It is also video content. This is a very good one to watch, so you want to be a preservationist. So, and you can, just like you're allowed to speed my videos up, if you need to speed up a video, hopefully you won't need to speed up the video because not all these people talk slow. But if, again, this is an hour-long video, so if you need to speed it up, and I think speeding this one up to 1.5 would make it about 45 minutes. If you need to do that, that's fine, and you probably still will if you speed it up be able to catch most of what's being discussed. Okay. So keep that in mind. And then what we do from here, there are 3 types of heritage, basically, that people, when we talk about cultural heritage, most schools of thought break cultural heritage down into 3 types of cultural heritage: tangible cultural heritage, intangible cultural heritage, and then landscape and natural cultural heritage. Now, the reason why, even though landscape and natural is usually like the 3rd one mentioned, the reason why I have this at week 3 instead of at week 5 is because, again, you had those 2 very heavy introductory modules, the introduction to cultural heritage concepts and then preservation concerns. These are heavy and the reading can be more dry, can be drier. So for week 3, the landscape heritage is actually a lighter topic. So because you had those 2 heavy, hard introductory course topics in weeks 1 or 2, week number 3, get a little bit of a break. The landscape / natural heritage sorts of readings, they're actually going to be a little less academic. They're less heavy. So it gives you a bit of a break from all that academic stuff that you had to do in the first 2. And then people tend to like this St. Helena. This is one of the best landscape / natural heritage videos that I've seen. It's 37 minutes long, but people, my students in the class have really enjoyed this. So, and I hope to see more documentaries in different places about like this throughout the country and throughout the world. I'm very big into documentaries. I just love them. And then also there's a optional resource here. So you've got 4 required resources here, but then there's an optional resource because I know here in Missouri, most of you students are going to be Midwesterners. I didn't have anything related to Missouri, natural / heritage or natural landscape heritage, but we do have Indiana. And Indiana has some similarities to Missouri. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. Indiana has some similarities to Missouri being a Midwestern state. And so this is talking about Indiana's architectural heritage, which architecture, they tend to include that as landscape heritage versus tangible heritage. Okay. So again, that would be an optional resource, but you would have that there. So that would be week 3. In week 4, we're taking a closer look at tangible heritage. So cultural heritage is understood by most in the field to manifest in 3 different forms: tangible, intangible, and landscape. We will create a separate module for each of these and focus on unique concerns with each form, as well as what types of cultural heritages are grouped into them. So this is tangible. So I know I just talked about architecture being included within landscape, but the house archives built, this one becomes more of because it's a specific house that's being spoken about here, this does become more of a tangible / material. Fashion is a form of tangible heritage. Also, other things like artifacts and that sort of thing. So you'll get some information on those sorts of things. Digital collection, digital curating of physical objects still counts as tangible heritage, even though you're accessing it in an intangible way. So that's why we have this particular reading here, and then you have some optional supplemental readings there. All right. And then week 5 is when we look at intangible heritage, and intangible heritage will include such things as like music, folklore, oral tradition, those sorts of things. Okay. And you'll have, again, another video to watch there. This one is a TED Talk, but it's a pretty good TED Talk, Intangible Heritage, Why We Should Care. 13-minute video, 14-minute video, so not too long, and what she says is pretty enlightening. So again, that's your what I call my Pentateuch of the cultural heritage class. So your first 5 weeks again are going to be these sorts of things that are, again, a little more dry in substance, but if you get through them, then if you get through them, then we start to have more fun, I believe, in week 6, and you get your foundational knowledge out of the way in the first 5 weeks. And so then we get to talk about things that are a little more interesting. All right. So going into week 6, that's when, to give you the break, this tends to be a favorite of a lot of students, and that's the music and cultural heritage module. All right. So yes, music is cultural heritage. Let's talk about, and I'm sorry again for the length of this one, This check-in video again, because it's a course overview, is going to be a lot longer, but because this one actually may run 90 minutes based on what's going on here. But let me just assure you that most of them are, I try to keep them under 30 minutes sped up. I mean, unsped up. And so when you speed them up, they're even shorter, but I can see that this one is taking a long time. But yes, there's a lot to say, and hopefully you'll answer a lot of questions. Music. So music is a form of intangible heritage, or arguably tangible as far as the sheet music and the mediums that it's recorded on. However, music is probably one of the most popular cultural heritage subjects. And my students in spring 2020, so that was the first year I taught at spring 2020, they were upset that they didn't get like a musical heritage module. So I did add one starting in 2021. And what I do want to talk about here, so you've got these readings here, and again, all of these readings are going to be things that you can just access for free over the internet. This is actually a very, very good one. The Music is Intangible Heritage piece right here is about a 15-minute read. That one's very good. But what I want to come to here is I actually want to, give me one moment. All right, so one thing that I did want to bring up with this particular module here is that with the week 6 Music is Cultural Heritage module, you're actually assigned a, and I'll make sure my check-in video was really short that week. You're going to be assigned a documentary, a cultural heritage music documentary, basically to watch. And what you're going to do is basically you're going to review your documentary. Now, the thing is, and you've all already been assigned a documentary, what I do want you to know is that, first of all, I'm going to scroll down. Some of these documentaries are unassigned. So if you don't see a name beside the documentary, like Something in the Water, a St. Louis rockumentary, Kansas City Jazz and Blues, if you don't see a name there, then those are free. That just means that those were, I used to have big classes related to this class, more students in the classes, I should say. And so this time around, if you don't see a name by it, I just didn't have enough students to assign somebody to it. But if you want to switch, you do have the right to switch as long as you contact me if you want to switch. So if you want to do a documentary other than the one you were assigned, be it one that hasn't been taken yet, or if you want to switch with a classmate, or if you find a cultural heritage music documentary, but the documentary can't just be about a band. It has to have cultural heritage aspects to it. So it does have to have some placemaking aspects to it. It probably has to have some tie to a culture or to a geographic region. So as you can see, Roots, Reggae, and Rebellion, that is specific to Jamaican culture. Sephardic music, that's specific to Jewish traditions and that sort of thing. So a specific group of people. It does have to have a cultural heritage aspect. So if you find something that you would rather do instead over the web, and students have done that in the past, but you've got to let me know and you have to get approval. If you don't get approval, you will be responsible for doing the one that's assigned to you. But if you want to switch to another one, whether it's another one that is unassigned in this course, or if you find one somewhere out there, if you own let's say you own something about some band that does a lot of work in, I don't know, St. Louis or Kansas City or something like that, and they're from that area, but they also include the area that they're from in what they're doing, then that's something that I may be able to approve. Okay, so the main thing to do is just ask, and I'll let you know whether or not thumbs up or thumbs down. Okay, but you're going to review one of these. And also I do want to say that, yeah, not all of them, there's no way to make this assignment equitable, right? So some of these documentaries are only like 20 minutes long, and then some of them are 2 hours long. So that's the luck of the draw. If you do have one that's like 2 hours long and you just don't have time for it, then see if one of the unassigned documentaries is shorter, and then say, hey, Dr. Jace, I don't have time for that 2-hour one. Can I do this 30-minute one that's unassigned? I'll probably switch you to that. But just know that, because also when I originally started doing this, I tried to assign things that were short so that students wouldn't have to spend a whole time watching. But then students ended up being disappointed with the shorter documentaries because they felt that they didn't explain as enough, okay? Or they felt that they were rushed or something like that. So I say all that to say, and you don't have to like the documentary that you review. Be honest. If you didn't think it was good, tell us. Okay. But yeah, so you're gonna review it, and yeah, not everybody unfortunately likes the documentary that they review. However, if you can suffer through it, then get the points, and you know, as long as you get the points, then you've still grown and you still learn something, hopefully. Okay, so that's the special note that I wanted to say related to the week 6 content. Let's get back. All right, so from there we go into week 7, and week 7 is Indigenous peoples' concerns with cultural heritage. When I'm talking about Indigenous people in this context, I'm not talking about Indigenous Americans or Native Americans or American Indians. I think you know the population that I'm speaking about when I say those things. What we're really talking about here is the people who inhabited an area before European colonization. So Indigenous people would be Indigenous Sub-Saharan Africans in places like Kenya and Nigeria. They would be Australian Aboriginals in a place like Australia, even though Vietnam was I think it was colonized by the French, maybe French Indochina. Was that Vietnam? I'm sorry if I'm wrong there. But the original inhabitants of Vietnam would be the indigenous people of Vietnam, if that makes sense. So when I'm talking about indigenous people, I'm not necessarily talking about Native Americans, but the Native American populations also inform this module as well. An enduring issue with cultural heritage is who owns cultural property. This is especially difficult for indigenous populations whose lands have been colonized. Issues surrounding ownership, contextualization, and proper preservation and presentation of indigenous cultural items are probed in this particular week, week 7. Again, students tend to enjoy that. Again, it's the first 5 weeks where we get the heavy, dry stuff, and then I think people like diving into these contents and concepts in week 6 on. And so you'll see these readings here. Week 8. The hidden heritage of small town and local business. I know a lot of people within our field, people tend to be very anti-capitalist and anti-profit within our field. And I don't necessarily think that's the way to go. And I do say that with a lot of places, they are known for the businesses that sprung up in them. I'm not too good with this on the Missouri tip, but I can tell you in North Carolina, a lot of times people just associate towns with successful businesses that started in those towns. Winston-Salem, North Carolina, that is where Krispy Kreme got started. And you will see a lot of things in Winston-Salem that are kind of like tributary to Krispy Kreme and that sort of thing. New Bern, North Carolina is where Pepsi Cola got started. So yes, New Bern is a small town in North Carolina, but the people from New Bern, they take very big pride in being the birthplace of Pepsi Cola. And so businesses they contribute to the identity of a place. And so when we talk about placemaking, which is a concept that we'll talk about later, yeah, the businesses are a part of placemaking, and especially small mom and pop stores and little places that exist in these places, like little businesses that exist in these places that you drive through. Those businesses mean so much to a lot of people, and I know that specifically because I was working as a newspaper reporter in my small hometown, or near my small hometown, sorry. Henderson, North Carolina. I was working for the local newspaper when we lost a lot of our local textile mills and that sort of thing, and that's what built that community. And I had to talk to a lot of people who had lost their jobs and that sort of thing as a result of the textile mills and tobacco mills closing. And it's a big deal. And those places and that work, there's a dignity with work, and that work meant so much to so many people. And so to not have that work, it meant a lot. It was like a piece of the town had gone away. Okay, it was just that heavy. All right. So when we'll talk about this, you will have to watch at least the first 45 minutes of a video that I recorded back in, I believe, 2021. This was my buddy Bill, who ran the local music store in my hometown, an independent record store in my hometown, and then it kind of went belly up. And it went belly up right before he started having health problems. Now he's been diagnosed, unfortunately, Bill, who you'll meet in this, he's been diagnosed with a terminal disease. I just caught up with him this past summer, and he's been diagnosed with a terminal disease and that sort of thing. It's very sad to hear that for him, but this was a passion of his for many, many years, and Knits Knats meant a lot to a lot of people for a lot of years in that small town. So you'll get kind of this will kind of capture what small local business can mean to a community. And so please put your anti-profit leanings aside and just kind of listen to what Bill talks about, and then also listen to these stories of some of these other things that we read and some of this other content in this hidden heritage of small and local businesses module. Okay. Week number 9, more than just a resting place, cemeteries and their value in cultural heritage. Cemeteries mean a lot more to communities and cultures than just being places to bury the dead. This week we'll discuss how cemeteries tie into cultural heritage. That'll be week 9, and students tend to like this module a lot. I was kind of surprised when I first included that module. I didn't know if it was the right one to include, but students have liked it, so I've kept it in. Week number 10 is going to be related to undermining identity, knowledge, and culture, why invaders and terror groups attack cultural heritage. We have seen threats to cultural heritage sites by those who lead military forces and by terrorist forces. This is nothing new, and UNESCO actually takes a strong stance against harming cultural sites for the purposes of war and terror. So our readings this week will acquaint us with the idea of why these places are targeted and why targeting them is wrong. Okay. And so, yes, this is, again, you'll see a lot of readings here, but a lot of these readings are a bit on the shorter side. For instance, this is a CNN article. It's not going to take you that long to read. So please don't get intimidated when you see a large number of readings. The readings themselves are oftentimes very, very short and easy to get through. There are a lot of optional readings in this one as well. Please keep in mind that they are optional. But if you decide to do the final paper, that might be something that you are able to draw sources from. Week 11, heritage tourism. So we can commodify cultural heritage. And one of the things that I think you should be doing is preserve your heritage, but also make your heritage a selling point of your community. So if you've got something, nothing beats having like a good museum. Like I think there is a Pepsi Cola museum in New Bern. I do know that in Atlanta there is a Coca-Cola museum. I've actually been there. And so yeah, that would be cultural heritage. Having a museum that people pay to go to, or they don't even have to pay to go to, but a museum that is a tourism draw. That is something that you are supposed to use, again, your heritage to your cultural heritage to kind of draw people in, to kind of tell the story of your community. You tell that story through cultural heritage. That's why cultural heritage is there, to tell that story. Okay. And so, yes, tell your stories through your cultural heritage, and get people, do it in a way that's interesting and that'll get people to want to come. Like, even when people are coming for other reasons, like there are going to be a bunch of people from Buffalo coming into Kansas City this week for the AFC Championship. And yes, you are going to hope that some of those people from Buffalo who come in to watch the game, you're still going to want them to come see some of these museums. Maybe they'll go to the Nelson Atkins Museum in Kansas City, or the Toy Museum in Kansas City, or the Jazz Museum, or the the Negro League Baseball Museum in Kansas City. People go to those things even when they are coming for other reasons. And so, yes, commodify your heritage. That is a way to get funding for your community, to create jobs, that sort of thing. It's good for the economy. Okay, so the readings in this module will discuss that. Week 12, Confederate commemoration. There are many considerations. Here are some. In this topic, we will probe issues surrounding Confederate commemoration in the USA. Some of you may be like, hey, I don't know if I necessarily want to talk about that, but there are reasons for this, and I'll go into those reasons a bit more as we get into, actually, I make a very long check-in video during that particular week, so be ready for that. But because that check-in video is coming later, I'm not going to make this one longer by talking about what I'll be talking in that check-in video. You'll just wait for that check-in video, okay? As you'll see, there are a lot of readings there. Please know that a lot of these readings actually are very short. Again, some of these are newspaper articles and blogs and that sort of thing that are actually a bit on the short side. So when you see 13 required things, you might be thinking, oh, Lord, Dr. Chase, trust me, most of these are not going to take that long to read. There are a lot of optional readings on that one as well. But one thing that does do, I will say that the Confederate Heritage module, it does lend itself very good to naming controversies, and that's why that one is there. So we'll talk about that in a little more depth as we get closer. All right. Week number 13, Women in Commemoration and Other Elements of Cultural Heritage. This one is also very important. Basically, a lot, if not most, heritage workers are women, and yet cultural heritage overlooks the accomplishments of women throughout the years. And so we're going to be shining light on that. The commemoration of women and the celebration and recognition of women who play crucial roles in cultural heritage is, as one likely would guess, not where it should be. This module here is in place to call awareness to some issues related to women in cultural heritage and heritage preservation. Also, additionally, this module is in place to help celebrate women who do heritage work and to encourage women to consider heritage work while assuring women that their representation is needed. Okay, and I do think that you all will also enjoy this presentation or this interview with Dr. Alexandria Russell, who does a lot of research on the commemoration of Black women in particular. But one thing I would say is not everything is focused on women of color in this module, but I would say also, if you're celebrating women, you need to celebrate women of all races. And so, yes, that includes Black women. And so, yes, this particular video is focused on Black women, but that is part of this umbrella of celebrating women. Okay. All right. Week 14 is going to be Food as Cultural Heritage. This is kind of a lighter module. You will have basically just four chapters to choose from an ebook that is available through the library. And then also you do need to watch this excerpt from a mini series called Black Cake. And the excerpt is like 3 minutes long. It's not very long at all. And then finally in week 15, we will have a module on forgotten heritage. So there are a lot of aspects to heritage, like especially ritual heritage, game heritage, and religious heritage that I just did not, also genealogy, that I just did not have enough weeks to have content on those things. But these were the things that I decided were worth including when I only had a limited number of weeks. Okay, so we will end with forgotten heritage and we will end on forgotten heritage, and you'll have a few things to watch and a few things to read related to that. All right. Outside of this, we'll get back into policies now. Okay, so just a few other things related to policy. First of all, policies included here. This is basically boilerplate from the university, so this should appear on pretty much every syllabus, and so it appears on mine. And so, first of all, AI. There are different things about AI. I am avoiding integrating AI into any of my courses for as long as I can. Eventually, I'm going to have to, but now is not that time. So we're not doing anything with AI, and please do not use AI to write your papers, okay? Academic integrity, please do not cheat. Academic inquiry, course discussion, and privacy. Again, do not share stuff in this class with people outside of this class. Do not dox your classmates. If you don't like something your classmate says, that does not give you license to go share what your classmate said broadly and to try to embarrass your classmate or get your classmate in trouble. They're not going to do that to you, so you don't do that to them. Again, I'm a different story, but hopefully nothing I say is going to upset you either. FERPA, you have a right to privacy due to FERPA, so I cannot tell people what your grades are and other things without your permission. So that's the ifs and ands and buts, the basics about FERPA, but there's more that you can read if you want to learn more. But yes, you do have protection of your academic records through FERPA. Intellectual pluralism, academic integrity, institutional equity, all those things. I will treat you with respect and kindness, and I want you to do the same to myself and others. Mental health, please do not suffer in silence. Again, please do not suffer in silence. If you have mental health concerns, please talk to somebody. And there's going to be another little blurb about this in a few minutes. But with this here, first of all, if you do live in the Columbia area, then you can use the Mizzou Counseling Center. And so you can make appointments by calling that number and that sort of thing. You can also visit this website to take an online mental health screening and to find out what workshops and resources can help you thrive, or how you can learn how to support a friend. Okay. But yes, and I am somebody, I've been diagnosed with generalized anxiety disorder, also severe depression, even though I don't feel depression very much, thankfully, but I do feel anxious a lot. And then also I do have adult attention deficit disorder. Okay, so I do have some things going on. I do talk to a therapist myself once a year, and then more so if I need to. But every year I do just check in with the therapist and that sort of thing. And I used to see a therapist more regularly, especially when I first moved out here to Missouri. Okay. So yes, don't suffer in silence. There is no reason for you to suffer in silence, even if the counseling center cannot see you. For instance, if you don't live in town or something, they still may have resources for you. Etiquette, we've already spoken about. Religious holidays and accommodations. Yes, if you do have a holiday that's not recognized by the university, still just run it by me. I will work with you. I am human and I get it. Non-discrimination policy. I will not discriminate against you based on your race, color, national origin, gender, biological sex, ancestry, religion, sexual orientation, gender expression, age, disability, or veteran status. I will not discriminate against you on any of those things, and I hope you will not discriminate against anyone else based on those things. If you feel you've been discriminated against, then these are the resources that you have. Students with disabilities, and this does include mental health disabilities as well as physical disabilities, please visit the Missouri Disability Center and come up with an accommodation plan. I will abide by the accommodation plan, but I will not know you have something up unless you tell me. And you don't have to tell me directly. Again, you can tell me through the Missouri Disabilities Center, work with them, get an accommodation plan. They actually send me a copy of the accommodations plan, and I accommodate, because that's what the name says. Decreasing risk of COVID. We don't really have to worry about that too much because we are a fully online class. But in your visits to a heritage site, just know if you do have a compromised immune system, or for some other reason you are in particular need to pay attention to COVID, then by all means just be ready, I guess. When it comes to COVID, mask up if you have to be somewhere in person and you're particularly vulnerable to COVID or to a respiratory disease. All right. So that's pretty much it with the syllabus and the modules. So let's talk about the assignments now. All right, so first of all, you are going to have, like I said, 2 quizzes. You're going to have the syllabus quiz that's due this coming Sunday, and then also a midterm quiz that's due in April. Those are going to be self-explanatory. They are open books, so what you can do is you can keep one tab open with the quiz in it, and then you can open another tab. You can open another tab, and then in the second tab that you have open, what you can do is search for the answers. That's totally fine. Again, it's open book, so don't worry about being on your honor or using a lockdown browser or anything like that. Visit to the cultural heritage site. That's worth 10 points right up in reflection. Again, that's worth 10 points. Basically what you're going to do is follow this prompt, but you're going to visit a site and then you're going to write about it, and you are going to answer these questions, but you write in essay style, not Q&A style. I will count off if you write in Q&A style. Hold on for a second. Okay, so again, Q&A style is lazy. Don't go with Q&A style. Actually show me that you can put a coherent essay together. And then also, I don't like doing sample papers, but because I came up with all of these assignments from scratch, what I did is I did have, because these writing assignments are a little different from what you might be used to, a little more unorthodox, I do have sample papers for these assignments. And so if you want a sample paper, you don't have to follow exactly how the sample paper did, but the sample paper could guide you. Okay, so that is the first major written assignment that you're going to have. And by the way, you are going to need to follow proper APA and I'll be making a video about that a little later on in the course. Maybe the second week is when I'll talk about the proper APA. For Heritage's assignment, that is going to be here. And again, so this is a little unorthodox, but this is a way to really describe what you're seeing in your community. And we do have, actually, we have 5 sample papers here because some students in the past did decide they were going to take very unorthodox approaches to this, and their unorthodox approaches were so good that I was like, hey, yeah, let's make those sample papers too. And they were like, okay, cool. And so you do have sample papers. So if you are lost, because this prompt can be confusing, I don't have time to go over this prompt now, but I'll do it in another check-in video later. But if you see this prompt and you're like, hold on, what? Then that's where the sample papers come in. So these are kind of your orthodox, typical kind of papers. But then again, people decided to get creative. And so with students who decided to get creative, I decided to get their permission to use their papers as sample papers as well. And they did very fine jobs, okay? And this one's going to be worth 15 points. And basically what you're going to do, yes, is identify for at least 4 heritages within, cultural heritages within a particular place. It can be a county, a city, a state, a country, or even just a village or community. But identify those 4 most important heritages and then make a case on how they all come together to contribute to the unique identity of the place that you are describing. And then finally, and I will elaborate more on this as well, but I actually want you all to consider. So there is a final paper, Confederacy argumentation paper, or you can weigh in on a library or cultural institution naming controversy. And again, we'll get back into that a little later at some other point, closer when that's due, and it's not due until May the 11th. But if you want, instead of doing the final paper, and I'm going to put an announcement about this in the course very soon, instead of doing the final paper, I would actually prefer, if you would like to, I would prefer if you do a heritage project. And a heritage project could be a number of things. And I will actually designate time in one of the next check-in videos. It'll either be next week or week after next, but in one of the next check-in videos that I do, I'm going to devote a little more time to describing what I mean about heritage projects. But I would love it if you all decided to do a heritage project instead of doing the final paper. And the heritage project can be such things as even just like you can digitize postcards, or you can volunteer at a heritage institution. You can work at missions at a heritage festival. You can perform at a heritage festival. There are a lot of different ways that you can take this. You can teach kids how to play a sport or coach a sport or something like that. There are a lot of different ideas. But what I want is for those of you all who are willing, I would prefer that you do a heritage project instead of doing the final paper. The reason being is because that helps more people. So if you do no, I will say that there's going to be a caveat that you can't get paid for it. But like if you do, like, let's say you volunteer to work the admissions booth at a local festival, festivals being a form of of intangible heritage. Let's say that you volunteer to work admissions at a festival, right? And you don't get paid for it. You are helping the people who put on that festival do the festival. You're helping them do it. And so that helps people, and it helps in a cultural heritage way. The same thing with one thing that a student has done in the past, actually several students have done this in the past, is they have, I've had students produce flyers and promotional materials for local museums and that sort of thing, especially museums that didn't have a lot of full-time staff. They volunteered to make flyers and brochures for those museums, and then they gave those flyers and brochures that they made to the museum. Or they at least gave the file, and then the museum could use the file to print off their own stuff. And again, that's something that helps. It's something that helps these communities. It's something that helps people. And so if you're able to do something like that, that's what I would like for you to focus your attention on. Okay. If you do a heritage project, you will have to get your heritage project approved by me. But if you do a heritage project, you will be able to do that instead of doing the final paper, because the final paper really just helps me and you. Helps you learn a little more, and then you write a little better, and then I learn a little more once I read it and grade it. But if you do something like help with a heritage project, if you put on a library program. I've had students do that. They like put on a library program about the history of something in their town or something like that. Those sorts of things help people, folks, and that's what we are in the business of doing as librarians, is we are in the business of helping people. Okay, so yes, if you would rather do some sort of heritage project in lieu of doing the final paper, I am all for that and encourage it. Okay, so and again, I'll do a check-in video about heritage projects probably within the next 2 weeks. Okay, so that's a bit of a rundown on the assignments. Let's see if there's anything else that we should go over here. All right, let's just discuss the announcements really quick. The main thing that you need to know when it comes to the announcements is that, yes, the announcements are mandatory. You have to read these, okay? We did have a getting started announcement, and that just told you a few of the things you had to do, including going ahead and putting up something for your intro discussion board posts. And then also this announcement here, it's just something you may want to save this link. So this is optional content. I'll put it a lot. There is with two of my classes. Some of you have already had me for intellectual freedom, and you saw that I had like a lot of announcements that just announced optional content in intellectual freedom. This class is the same way. I do have a lot of announcements in this class that just announce optional content related to cultural heritage, right? And so this is one of those, but this is a very good one. There's a webinar series, and some of these webinars are in the future. This one is actually this week. So if you want to register for this one, you need to register for it now. But yes, Wednesday, January the 22nd, this coming Wednesday. So you want to be a preservationist. That might be relevant to some of you all. And then also you can register for these. These are coming in advance. But then also these are from the past, and the ones that are from the past, you can find them on YouTube. And these are also very informative. So you may, again, want to check some of these out. It may be very beneficial for you to check out some of these. But yes, so that's something to keep in mind with the announcements for cultural heritage and for intellectual freedom. These two classes that I teach in particular, yes, there's going to be a lot of announcements in these two classes, and a lot of it is announcing optional content. Again, you have to read the announcement, but you don't necessarily have to access the optional content. All right, so with all that said, now I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself and try to make you all a little more comfortable with me, but I'm also going to say something that I say to all my classes, and I hope it doesn't scare you or anything like that, because we are not in a position where we want a spirit of fear. All right. So first of all, let me tell you a little bit about myself, and so that you know your instructor a little better, and hopefully this will be a bit of a barrier breaker. So again, my name, people call me Dr. Jace. Most people call me Dr. Jace, but my name is Jason Austin. You can also call me Jace. You can call me Jason. You can call me Dr. Austin. You can call me, some people call me by my last name, Austin. So just whatever you want to do. You've got some options on what you want to call me and that sort of thing. But yes, that is me. I am from, I'm originally from Soul City, North Carolina. That is a real place. Google it. You will see information on Soul City, North Carolina, and part of my interest in cultural heritage is knowing the cultural heritage that is associated with my hometown, small as it may be. Now, during my teenage years, I lived in Richmond, Virginia, or just outside of Richmond, Virginia, graduated from Meadowbrook High School, right outside of Richmond, Virginia in 2001. And after that, I got a degree in English from the University of North Carolina at Wilmington in 2005. I have my Master's in Library Science from North Carolina Central University in Durham, North Carolina in 2008. And then in 2017, I earned my PhD in Library and Information Sciences with a focus on cultural heritage informatics. And that was from the University of South Carolina, again, in 2017. As far as work experience, started out as a newspaper reporter right out of college. I worked as a newspaper reporter from 2005 until 2008 at a small town newspaper, the Henderson Daily Dispatch, Henderson, North Carolina. After that, I worked as a librarian. My first librarian job was being the first ever diversity resident librarian at the University of North Carolina at Greensboro, and I was there from 2008 to 2010. If you want to know what residencies are, then take my academic libraries class, and I talk a little bit about those in that class. In 2000, starting in 2010, from 2010 to 2011, so just 2 years there, I was a public librarian at Forsyth County Public Library in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. While I was earning my PhD, I was also a community college librarian at Midlands Technical College in Columbia, South Carolina. And then I have also worked as a reference librarian for UMKC in Kansas City, Missouri. And I was not a reference librarian, I was actually a business librarian for Coastal Carolina University in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, or near Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, okay? And one thing that I miss about the Carolinas, if I can just soapbox a little bit, I do think that there is a stronger cultural heritage tradition in the Carolinas than there is in Missouri, but also you have to think about the fact that there has been an eye on heritage in the Carolinas since the 1700s, because they were settled first. I don't know how much the indigenous people in these areas, don't get me wrong, the indigenous people in the Carolinas and Missouri and elsewhere, they were heritage minded as well. They have oral traditions, they have artifacts, they have all the cultural heritage things. Cultural heritage is something that we all have, and it's what makes us, one of the things that makes us human, and I'll soapbox on that another time. But going back to this particular thing, what I do want to say is that you don't really have the resources for heritage just don't seem to be as strong in Missouri. And I do prefer the Carolinas to Missouri, but what I'm also going to say is the Carolinas got a head start. They were the part of the original colonies, whereas Missouri just recently celebrated their was it their bicentennial, or was it just their centennial? Sorry, I should know that, but I do have the book, Show Me a Bicentennial. So Missouri just celebrated 200 years, but this is a recent book. This is a book that was published in 2022, whereas the bicentennial of North Carolina and South Carolina far predate that. So I do hope that we create more heritage workers and more heritage stuff and a stronger heritage tradition here in Missouri that can be more similar to what you see out in the Carolinas and I do feel that on the East Coast, because the East Coast got settled first, there's a lot more there's a lot of like colonial pride and that sort of thing, and you just go from there, and so the heritage traditions are stronger. All right, some other things that I want to kind of mention here is that oh yeah, the last thing that I want to mention just very quickly, and this ties into like bias and that sort of thing, but I just want you all to be comfortable. So I tell this to every single class that I have. I let people know that, hey, I know that here in the Midwest, I'm just going to be quite honest and be quite blatant with this. I'm Black, and I know that here in the Midwest, especially, a lot of times I'm the first Black teacher that a lot of people in the Midwest have had, even at the graduate school level. I've learned that a lot of students at Mizzou, they never had Black teachers in K-12, and then some of them never even, if they went to undergrad at like smaller colleges and that sort of thing, they never had like Black professors even at the college level. So it is not uncommon for me to be teaching students who have their first Black instructor at the grad school level. Now, in the South, that's kind of crazy, because in the South, even in rural areas, you do have a lot of Black people. But in the Midwest, a lot of times you only find Black people more so in like the metropolitan areas. So in Missouri, for instance, yeah, you'll find Black people in some of the smaller towns. Like you do find Black people in Mexico, Missouri, and Hannibal, Missouri. But for the most part, in Missouri, the Black people are in the St. Louis area, Kansas City area, or the Columbia or Jeff City area, and then also in Springfield. But, you know, I've been to, like in Missouri, you will find a lot of places that are completely devoid of Black people entirely. Or they have so few Black people that still when they see Black people, it's something. And like for instance, I'll say I was very uncomfortable when I went to Maryville And also when I went to Joplin, I was just like stared at by people, right? And that is because, yeah, you don't have large black populations in a lot of these places. So yeah, I think they were just intimidated by me as I was by them. They were not expecting to see a black person in those spaces. So the reason I say that is because when I first got to Missouri, my teaching evaluations were bad. They were really bad. Like, my teaching evaluations at the University of South Carolina, when I was earning my PhD, I was also teaching. And my teaching evaluations down there were really good, and I was able to be myself. And people would say things like, he's real, he's relatable. Dr. Jace is one of us. Well, they weren't calling me Dr. Jace at the time because I didn't have a PhD at the time, but they were saying like, Jace, he's one of us, down home guy, good old guy. You know what I'm saying? And then I got to Missouri, and the same way, I'm a typical rural Southerner. When you see me, when you see me just on the street and that sort of thing, I'm just a typical rural Southerner. But when I got here, I had to change things because here, again, people were not used to black people in the Midwest. It just seemed like a lot of people were not used to black instructors. And so in my teaching evaluations, people were saying, oh, he's abrasive, he's aggressive, he's defensive. I don't feel comfortable talking to him, yada, yada, yada. And I'm just like, whoa, what is going on here? And I was sad at first when I saw that my first semester here. And then after my second semester here, I was like, I'm not sure that all of this is just me. I think there's some racial bias here. And that I also started reading about some of the experiences that other black professors were having in the Midwest. And so then I was like, yeah, it's not all just me. These are people who are uncomfortable with my blackness, because when you go to the rural South, a lot of black people are like me, but when you wouldn't see a lot of that in the Midwest. And so a lot of these Midwesterners, they see that and they don't realize that if you go down south, a lot of people are like me, and they encountered me, and I was their first encounter with a genuine black rural Southerner, and they were just like, whoa, this makes me uncomfortable. So what I ask is that people meet me halfway. I made some adjustments. I've had people say you shouldn't make adjustments if the students have racial bias. I've had people tell me that, and I think those people are right, but at the same time, it is what it is. When in Rome, I hate to say it, but when in Rome. So when in Rome, you do what you do. I had to change to adjust to my students, but I want my students to meet me halfway, if that makes sense, okay? Yes, I come with a softer approach than I originally did, because that's what my Missouri students need. They need a softer approach. They think that black people, being our natural selves, is abrasive. They're not used to us in the same way that Southerners tend to be used to us. So I made those changes so that my students will be more comfortable and able to ask me questions and able to get through my classes. But I'm still asking that y'all meet me halfway. Yes, I've softened my approach, but in the same vein, when I soften my approach, one thing that I'm hoping that you're willing to do is to just do a little self-examination. If you find yourself afraid of me for whatever reason, or if you find yourself nervous around me, I'm actually a very nice person. Southerners, we are nice people. And if you find yourself just intimidated or put off or that sort of thing, ask yourself if it's me or if it's you. Okay. And just have some introspection that way. All right. There are probably still going to be times, especially if you're watching the videos, where I come across as somebody who might seem a little forceful. That's just the black culture. That's how we have to be. It's a defense mechanism. It's a survival mechanism when you are black in the rural South. Okay. It's just what it is. But there's, especially if you work in cultural heritage, you're going to have to work with people who are different from you. You're going to have to do heritage stuff with people who are different from you, and people who are from different cultures, and that sort of thing. You're going to have to get used to the different, and when you're working in cultural heritage. And then also, for those of you who might be from smaller towns but may end up in bigger cities, like for instance, let's say you're from I don't know, let's say you're from Odessa, Missouri, or you're from Joplin, Missouri, or something like that, but you want to work in Chicago, or you want to work in St. Louis, or you want to work in Indianapolis. That's cool, but you got to get used to it. And there's some things you're going to have to get used to, you know what I'm saying? So if you decide that you're from like, let's say you're from a lily white area of Missouri, let's call it what it is, or a lily white area of Kansas or Nebraska or Iowa. That's where I draw a lot of my students. Let's say you're from one of those places and it's not very diverse, but you want to go to a more diverse place. And even some of the cities in those states, Omaha is actually somewhat diverse. Topeka is actually somewhat diverse. Des Moines and Iowa City are somewhat diverse. Not as diverse as what I'm used to, but they're certainly more diverse than a lot of these small towns are. You're going to have to get used to people who are different, and you can't be intimidated. You might have a black boss. You might have a Hispanic boss who does things differently from what you're used to, and you can't wither up and, fold over. You have to learn how to adjust to people of different cultures. And so as we're learning about cultural heritage, you're going to be learning it from somebody who is probably different from you. I don't know if I've even gotten any black students in this class. I haven't checked. But if not, then yes, all of my students are going to be different from me, and you're still going to have to learn from me, but we can make this work. We just have to work together. And we're going to do that, okay? Do not be intimidated by me based on my appearance, based on how I look, or even, even if I'm a little no holds barred or a little more, abrasive or, just direct with how I speak, because I do feel also that this is a stereotype, I'm sure, but to me, it feels like Midwesterners can be very indirect in how they speak. It's a very passive way of speaking, and they don't say directly what they like. Even with my in-laws, like one thing that they'll say a lot is, I'm reading between the lines. And they read stuff into my comments that weren't there. Well, I'm from the South, and we just tell it like it is. We say it with a little sugar. Ah, sweetie, you know what I'm saying? But we still say what's on our minds. You don't have to read between the lines with me. You don't. But Midwesterners, it seems like they do that almost to a fault. Like, I will say something and I said what I meant because I wrote it point noted. That's how I live life. And then, like, my Midwestern contacts, my in-laws, my wife, whoever, a lot of times will still be like, are you really saying it? No, because I would have said it. But having said that, these are the types of communication nuances that we have to kind of get used to and kind of have to work around, and we'll be able to do that. We just need to understand each other, and cultural heritage is about mutual understandings. All right, so we're gonna have a good time. We are gonna have a great time. You're gonna learn a lot. You're gonna have fun. You're gonna make at least one new friend in this class. You're gonna enjoy this, and we are all gonna be better come May. I am very excited to be teaching this class again. I love the fact that you all signed up. Thank you so much. I feel honored to have you all, and let's have a great semester. Have a good one. Oh, yeah, I have to do my rhymes. So I am Dr. Jace, and this is the beginning of the race, but you will do well, and I am here to help you do well. Okay, that's it. Have a good one. Bye-bye.